Yo, 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 what's good, Sixer Nation? You already know who this is. It's DFJ Hoops back with some Sixer content. Yeah, I was asking for it. Well, here you have it. We're going to talk about some Sixers news that's been going on these past few days over the weekend. We're going to be reacting to some news that's just happened over the weekend concerning the Sixers and some other players. Embiid has some statements to make on Friday night. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to break everything down over here. But smash the like and hit the like. I mean, smash the like and hit the smash the like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's just get right into it. So we're gonna start with Kelly Oubre and the recent move that he just made um ahead of free agency. So just recently, Kelly Oubre just signed with a new agency. He signed with the CAA Sports Entertainment. I think that's the same agency that Paul George and OG Anunoby and a few other players. I think Jalen Brunson is also under that same agency. I mean, they got him paid 2 years ago with the Knicks. So Kelly Oubre just signed with them, and in hopes of securing a lucrative contract with not just the Sixers. If any team offers him a very good deal, he'll probably take it. And me personally, I'm really happy for Kelly Oubre because last season, considering what happened to him, where no team wanted to take a chance on him, considering that he averaged 20 points with the Charlotte Hornets. Now, yeah, it was with a bad team, and that 20 points was not super efficient, but you would expect him to get signed to a team early, but it was until I think 3 weeks until training camp before the Sixers brought him in. And the Sixers literally had no choice but to sign him because they didn't really have any athletic wing players. Now, I don't consider Tobias Harris and all those other guys as athletic. Tobias Harris is he's a good wing player, but he's not as athletic as Kelly Oubre. So the Sixers had no choice, and they signed him to a veteran minimums contract, and he took it, and he played. He exceeded expectations. Me personally, I didn't really see him performing at that level that he performed at last season with the Sixers. Now he did go through some ups and downs with certain things that he got into, the bicycle accident that he got into, and then his car crash. I think 2 or 3 days before the playoffs started, where he crashed his Lambo. I think in New York or something like that. So he had his fair share of ups and downs, but he absolutely exceeded expectations. With the Sixers last year, he averaged 15 points. I think he averaged 5 rebounds and 1 assist, 2 assists, if I'm rounding up. And the efficiency was pretty good, 44% from the field, 31% from the three, and he shot 75% from the free throw line. Now, Kelly Oubre could definitely improve on his game. I think he can definitely work on his shot, on his 3-point shot, because 31%, that's absolutely below league. I think that's below league average. I think the league average from the three is 35.6, something like that. So shooting 31% from the three, that's not good at all. So he can definitely get in the lab. He can definitely work with some, skill trainers. He can definitely work with Lethal Shooter. Lethal Shooter, he's a great skills coach. He's a great shooting coach. He's helped a few NBA players he's helped a few NBA players perfect their 3-point shot, like Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, and just to name a few. So he could definitely work on it, right? And Kelly Oubre, he's still young. He could definitely make improvements on his game, right? He's only 28 years old, so he's currently in his prime right now, you'd say. I think he definitely has some good years ahead of him. So he could definitely work on his game. And me personally, I would love to see him back with the Sixers because he was very, very productive for the Sixers. On certain nights, he was the second option. On certain nights, he was the third option. When Embiid was in a starting lineup and Maxey was playing, on certain nights he was the third option because Tobias Harris was not stepping up, and he was super effective on both sides of the floor, offensively, defensively, rebounding. Right. The only detriment on his game is he's not a great 3-point shooter, like I said earlier. But I think he could definitely work on it. He could definitely perfect his three. He can definitely work on his shooting form. He can definitely work on his shot selection as well. And that's just to name a few things that he could improve on his game. And also he can work with Drew Hanlon, who Tyrese Maxey worked with him, and Maxey had probably the best season of his career, averaging 26 points. And that came by the help of Drew Hanlon. I mean, he went in the lab with Drew Hanlon. That's Embiid's skills coach as well. And Maxey worked on his game, and you could tell on the court that he really transformed as a player, as a guard, and that really helped him. So I think Kelly Oubre could go the same route. Now, Kelly Oubre is not obviously he's not going to be as effective as Maxey, but as a third option, not a third option, as a fourth option, as a fifth option, or a player coming off the bench, I think if Kelly Oubre could work on his game, he could be even much more effective than he was last season with the Sixers. I think if he works on that 3-point shot, he could average, quite a few more points. If he can work on his handles a little bit, you could, give him a few ball handling responsibilities if he comes off the bench or if he's starting. Now, me personally, I think I wanted Kelly Oubre off the bench because the Sixers didn't really have any bench. But with Tobias Harris performing the way he was performing, I didn't really like it. So I was like, okay, if you have Kelly Oubre in the starting lineup, that's cool, right? That's super cool. But at the same time, you need some pieces off the bench that's going to give you some solid production, because if your bench unit is not good, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win games, because when your best players have to take a seat, they cannot, sustain the level of play that the starters are, playing at. So you definitely need a solid bench. But Kelly Oubre, as a starter, he was solid. As a bench player, he was solid. He started in, I think, 54 games last season with the Sixers. Now he started in 52. Played 30 minutes a night, and he was pretty productive on both sides of the floor, offensively and defensively. And his defensive impact didn't really show until the playoffs, where in games 1 and games 2, even though the Sixers lost, he was pretty solid defensively on Jalen Brunson. He had Jalen Brunson really, really struggling. And it got to a point where my guy Thomas Tallis, a shout out to Thomas Tallis, he even told me that he didn't really think that Kelly Oubre was like that defensively. And Thomas he's high on guys that really play defense. He's high on two-way players. And I was telling myself that I didn't even expect Kelly Oubre to be that impactful on the defensive side of the floor. But he showed us, a level of his game where he could get to and be super valuable to a team, guarding Jalen Brunson. Now, obviously, Jalen Brunson, he broke loose and, he started going off in the last 4 games. But considering what Kelly Oubre did defensively on Jalen Brunson, he did a super solid job on him. And that really showed me another part of Kelly Oubre's game that I didn't really expect. So seeing him sign with CAA sports agencies, I'm really happy for him. They're going to definitely get him paid this offseason, whether it's with the Sixers or any other team. They're definitely going to get him paid. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to sign a max contract. That's not what I'm saying. But, a pretty decent contract, a 2 or 3 year deal. I can see Kelly Oubre signing that contract with another team. Hopefully it's with the Sixers and not with any other team, because I definitely want to see Kelly Oubre back on the 76ers, because he really impacted this Sixers team in a much positive way than some other players. So Kelly Oubre is definitely one of the players that I want to see the Sixers bring back. So hopefully it works out that way, and hopefully the Sixers and Kelly Oubre's camp can come to an agreement to bring him back for at least 2 years, at least 2 more years or 2 more seasons for the 76ers. So shout out to Kelly. I'm happy for him. Hopefully his agency will get him paid. I'm definitely sure that his agency is definitely going to get him paid, because they got Jalen Brunson, Paul George. Now, these are, star caliber players, and Kelly Oubre is not that. I'm not saying he's a star caliber player, but considering what he did with the Sixers, there's no way that he cannot get a lucrative deal with the Sixers or any other team. So the Sixers need to make the right decision and, sign him. Now, if you get an upgrade now, obviously, yeah, you'll take that. But considering what Kelly Oubre did with the team last season, if I'm Daryl Morey, if I'm Elton Brand, I definitely bring him back for next season to help this team in terms of its chemistry, in terms of, helping this team grow as a unit. Yeah, I'll definitely bring him back. Smash the like button as y'all come in. Smash the like button as y'all come in. Shout out to my guy Tuna Sports. He says, yeah, to the topic. Is Joel Embiid recruiting Paul George to the Sixers? So, yeah, shout out to my guy Tuna Sports. Bro, I sent you something on Instagram, bro. Better reply. But yeah, shout out to Tuna Sports. And shout out to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Shout out to BJ. He says, what's good, brother? What's good, BJ? I appreciate you for being in here. Appreciate you. Yeah, so Kelly Oubre, hopefully he comes back. he returns to the Sixers, and hopefully the Sixers are able to construct a team that can contend for a championship for not just next season, but the season to come as well. Now, let me talk about the next thing that I really want to talk about is Joel Embiid and Paul George. Now, Joel Embiid on Friday night on Game Four of the NBA Finals, which he attended Game Four as a regular fan, to sit courtside to enjoy the NBA Finals just like a regular fan would, and he was not even scheduled to be on NBA Countdown. That's a show before the game starts, right? They talk about what the teams could do. Paul George was on that show. Malika Andrews on the show. Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins. I think those are the guys that was on the show that I can remember. And Embiid was not scheduled to be on the show, but all of a sudden Embiid walks on. Embiid gets to sit on the show with Paul George and the other media personalities, Stephen A, Malika Andrews, and Embiid made certain statements that I agree with some of them I don't agree with. Um, and one thing that really caught the fans' eyes, I wish I had the video so I could play it, but I don't have it. He said something. I think Stephen A asked him, either Stephen A or somebody else. They asked him about his health. They asked him about the 76ers. I mean, the Sixers is expected to make a ton of moves this offseason. They only have 3 players on the books for next year. So you can expect the Sixers to make a ton of moves this offseason. So he was asked some questions. He was asked about his health. He commented on his health. He was asked about the Boston Celtics, which he did reply that he doesn't like the Celtics. It's a great team, great city, great fans, but he just doesn't like the Boston Celtics, which we all don't, right? If you're a Sixer fan, you don't really like the Celtics. Yeah, but they was asking him some questions, and his answers to some of them I did agree with, others I didn't agree with. And then they asked him about the 76ers, and he then responded with, um, now they asked him about the Celtics, their playoff run, right? And he did say that the East was hurt, he was hurt, right? I mean, Embiid is always hurt, so I know people are going to say you're always hurt, so it doesn't even matter. But he made that statement, and yeah, the Celtics did face a lot of teams that was hurt or missing their best player. I mean, the Celtics faced the Miami Heat. Miami was missing Jimmy Butler. They were missing Terry Rozier, missing a lot of players, right? And in the second round, they played the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland, I think the last 3 games, Donovan Mitchell was not playing, so that's 2 teams right there that's missing their best player, and they get to the conference finals, and Tyrese Halliburton gets hurt in the final 2 games, I think, and they ended up sweeping the Indiana Pacers. But so that's why he made that statement that the Boston Celtics face hurt teams, which he was hurt included, right? And if Embiid was pretty much, I mean, he looked good to me, in my opinion. I mean, his production looked pretty much the same from the regular season, and it was just his role players didn't step up, and that's the bottom line in my opinion. Maxey did what he could. He averaged 29. Kelly Oubre, who's a veteran minimum player, was outplaying Tobias Harris, who's supposed to be a max player. So they all three of them, they did what they could, but the role players just didn't step up. The bench production was not there. Paul Reed talked all that, he talked all that crap before the playoffs started, and that the Knicks were the easiest matchup, right? And what he was saying, his play on the basketball court did not back up what he was saying. And me personally, that's what got me pissed off, because you was talking all that trash. You're not backing it up on the basketball floor. So the Sixers shouldn't bring back Paul Reed, right? Not because he said that, but his production on the floor is just not. I expected him to take a bigger jump, but he just didn't take that jump. So I don't want to see the Sixers bring him back. But not to get off track, he made that statement, and they asked him about the Sixers, and he said, hopefully the Sixers will be back, right? Hopefully the Sixers could be back, contending in the Eastern Conference next year. If they make a lot of moves, we expect the Sixers to make a ton of moves this offseason. And when he said that the Sixers need to make moves, he kind of like side-eyed with Paul George, because he was sitting right next to Paul George, and he side-eyed him, and he said we need to make pieces. I mean, get some pieces or add some pieces to the team. And he side-eyed Paul George, and that got a lot of fans asking the question: was Paul George potentially recruiting Paul? I mean, was Joel Embiid potentially recruiting Paul George to the Sixers? And the fans are going to be fans are going to be fans. Fans are going to say whatever. They're going to give their thoughts, give their opinions. But me personally, I think he was definitely that was definitely a recruiting pitch for Paul George. And considering what Paul George is going through with the Clippers, I think a report came out from Brian Windhorst saying that the Clippers and PG, they're not seeing eye to eye because PG is a free agent. He's expected to sign a max contract, but for whatever reason, the Clippers don't want to give him that. Now we don't know if that's true or not. That's just a rumor. So, but there's a little bit of truth to every rumor. So, me personally, from what I know from the Clippers, I think the Clippers are not really. They don't really want to commit to Paul George full term, and they really want him to take a team friendly deal. Which, looking at it from Lawrence Frank's point of view, I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you want to take a team friendly deal so we could add more pieces to make this team better? But looking at it from Paul George's perspective, I made the All Star team multiple times. I've made All NBA team. I've not been for the most part. I've been available, but Kawhi Leonard, who y'all gave a 3-year deal to, he's been hurt. He's missed most of the playoffs, if not all of them, the last 3 postseason runs. He was hurt in 2022 because he was recovering from an ACL injury. And then in 2023, he injured his meniscus. And then this season, he was dealing with some inflammation with the knee. I don't know if it was the same knee, but he was dealing with some inflammation. So, I think PG is looking at all of this and saying that, yeah, I deserve a max contract because I've been playing. I've been productive for the most part, right? I made the All-Star team. I made the All-NBA team once since the last contract I signed. And I've been productive. I've been available for the most part. I try to help this team to the best of my ability. So why wouldn't you sign me to a max contract? But all in all, I just think that PG at this point in his career, right, with the injuries piling up, him getting up older in age. Yeah, he's going to be 35. He's going to be 35 come playoff time next season. So I think with everything that's happening, he definitely wants to secure his last big deal because this will probably be the last big contract that he can secure. And we've seen older players sign huge contracts, at an advanced age. We saw Paul. I was about to say Paul George, but we saw Chris Paul sign with the Phoenix Suns back in 2021. I think he signed a 4-year, and it was a pretty solid contract. It was a max contract at the time, right? And he signed that deal with the Phoenix Suns. So we've seen older players sign long-term deals. LeBron signed it. He signed a long-term deal with the Lakers, but currently he can't sign a long-term deal because he's up there in age. He's going to be 40 this year. So the biggest contract you can give him is a 2-year deal. But looking at it from Paul George's perspective, this will be my last big contract. I made the All-Star team last season. I averaged 20, right? So he definitely thinks he deserves a big contract. But me personally, I don't think if I'm a GM, I'm not giving Paul George that deal. And I'm not giving it to him because not just because I think he's not a good player, because Paul George is a pretty good player. He's still an all-star caliber player. As a second option, he could definitely, you could definitely make a finals run with him. But I want him on a cheaper deal. I don't want him on a max contract. I don't want to give him a 4-year, 200 plus because I don't think his play or his impact commands that type of contract, right? I don't really think he impacts that game. I don't think he impacts the game to that level. BJ says, "Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, it was a little bit funny with Embiid kind of like he's trying to be slick with it, but we all caught it. Now, hopefully he doesn't get. Hopefully the Sixers don't get hit with tampering because I remember, I think back in 2017 or 2018, one of those years, PG, I think it's 2018, yeah. PG was a free agent, and Magic Johnson, who was, I think he was the GM for the Lakers at the time, he was on a talk show. I think Jimmy Jimmy, whatever. He was on one of those shows, and they asked him about Paul George, and if he sees Paul George anywhere, like, what's the conversation going to be like? And he was like, he's gonna, I'm gonna ask him about his family, how his family's doing, this, and then I'm gonna be, I'll be like, come to the Lakers. But he was kind of like side eyeing, and he got hit with the tampering. They hit him with tampering. I remember. I think it was 500,000 plus or whatever. So hopefully the Sixers or Embiid does not get hit with the tampering allegation, because what he did was pretty obvious that he was, kind of like recruiting him to the Sixers. But hopefully that don't happen. That's as close as Embiid going to get to the bro. All right, cool. All right. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah. To this point, you don't want to play this game with me, bro. You trust me. You definitely don't. You don't want to play this game with me, bro. When all right, but Paul George, yeah. If I'm a GM, I'm not gonna pay him that type of. I'm not gonna pay him that type of bread. Now, am I saying that PG is a terrible player? No, but I don't think at this point in his career, I mean, he's gonna be in year 14 next season, right? And looking at his play on the floor, it's just not. There's nothing promising about him that you could think that he's gonna play until he's 37 or 38 years old, playing at a high level. I just don't. He just doesn't give me those type of vibes. His play in the postseason absolutely. His play in the postseason absolutely plummets. His production plummets, and it's just no sign that he's gonna sustain this level of play until he's 37 or 38 years old. Now, I'm not about to say this, Sebastian, but it's just the reality. Now let's look at Paul George last season with the Clippers. So Paul George last season with the LA Clippers. So he averaged 22 points per game, right? 22 points, or let me say 23. Let me just round it up and say 23 points. And he shot 47% from the field, which is above league average. He shot 41% from the three. That's super efficient, right? That's super efficient on pretty high volume. He was attempting 8 threes a game, so 7.9. That's 8 threes. So the volume is right there. So he shot 41% from the three, and from the free throw line he was 90%, 91%. Let me just say 91%. But there's not too much volume on the free throws, right? I attempted only 4 free throws. But the thing is, he doesn't really go to the basket as much as he used to back in the days. When he was younger, when he was much athletic, he was definitely going to the basket at a more higher rate. But now the injuries is catching up to him, and sometimes he just doesn't get enough lift off off those legs. And as a matter of fact, or as a result, he settles for a lot of tough shots. Right. I think in the postseason, I saw a stat that I think 64% of the shots he took in the playoffs were all contested shots. So he's taking a lot of difficult shots. He's taking a lot of tough shots, and he's not going to the basket as much as he used to back in his younger days. Right. So 90% at the free throw line. That's super efficient. Now let's go to the playoffs. Right. In the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks, the fifth seed of Dallas Mavericks, who's in the NBA Finals right now, he averaged 19.5. So let's say 20 points per game. So he averaged 20 points per game on 41% shooting from the field, 36% shooting from the three, and 84% shooting from the free throw line. So, in other words, his production from the regular season completely plummeted in the playoffs. Right? He averaged 23 points in the regular season. That dropped to 20, and his efficiency from the field completely plummeted from 47% to 41%. So in other words, you can say that he was getting locked up, right? And in game 5 and game 6, that was so terrible. I think he was 10 for 31 in those games right there. 10 for 31 from the field. So he was getting locked up. And it's kind of like if you didn't watch the game, you would say he was getting locked up. But if you actually watched it, he was getting to every spot that he wanted to get to. But the thing is, he was taking a lot of contested shots. He was taking a lot of difficult shots. And shots like that have a 41% chance of going in. And that's what his field goal percentage is. Right? If you take those tough shots, the percentage or the likelihood of those shots going in is not very high. And as a result, the Clippers lost in the first round. And he was supposed to be the first option. He was supposed to be the guy because Kawhi Leonard got hurt. And you got some Clipper fans making excuses that he's not he's not a power forward, he's not this, which is fine. It's definitely fine. But the thing is, he was not going up against Kevin Garnett. He was not going up against Tim Duncan. He was not going up against Dirk Nowitzki and all these all-time power forwards. He was going up against PJ Washington. So you would expect him to dominate that matchup. I mean, me personally, I would expect him to dominate that matchup because PJ Washington, in my opinion, is not on his level. But Paul George really wanted to take a back seat and kind of like let James Harden be the first option, which it did work in a few games, but it worked in a few games, right? They tied the series at 2-2, but in those last two games right there, James Harden, he also had to fight some of his demons. And in game 5, I think James Harden was 2 for 7 from the field or something like 2 for 10 from the field. And they ended up losing by 30 points, right? So if you look at his performance in the playoffs and you compare it to the regular season, you can definitely say that his production completely plummeted. So if you look at that, if you're the GM, if you're the president of basketball operations, are you going to give him a 4-year long-term deal? Because me personally, I wouldn't do it, right? Now, I'm not saying I don't want Paul George, right? I want Paul George on a cheaper deal. I'll take him any deal on a cheaper deal, right? Because if he comes to the Sixers, he's not going to be the first option. If he comes to the Sixers, I highly doubt that he's going to be the second option. He'll probably be the third option, right? Because it's definitely Embiid and Maxi's team. So bringing in Paul George, he's going to be the third option. He's not going to take that many shots because he's not a high volume shooter. I mean, throughout his career, he's never been a high volume shooter. Even when he was the first option with the Indiana Pacers back in his early years, he was not, a high volume shot taker. He'll probably take like 14 or 15 shots. He doesn't really take a lot of shots. Now his shots, they definitely increase in the playoffs, but in the regular season, it's definitely not as high as in the playoffs. Tuna Sports is yeah, I'm far behind. I'm far behind these comments, but Sixers will pay, which I will get to in a few seconds here. I appreciate you for bringing that up. Um, then he might as well stay with the Clippers. I mean, yeah, that's I think that's his plan because he's from the LA area, so he's from Palmdale, California. His family, everybody's in the California area. So if they're definitely willing to pay him that 4-year deal, 4-year 200 plus, yeah, he's definitely gonna stay. But it's just up to the Clippers to make that decision. PG is an upgrade from Tobias. Yeah, he definitely is, bro. Paul George is the Michael Jordan of Tobias Harris. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna fight that, but I don't. It's just I'm not trying to pay him 200 plus because if you pay him 200 plus, you have to pay Maxi. You got to pay Embiid. I mean, you got to extend Embiid, right? So if you pay all those three players, you don't really have enough room to maneuver and add complementary pieces to the team. Who's a better second option in the league than Paul George? I mean, if you go by, I mean, on paper, I don't think anybody as a second option is better than Paul. I mean, nah, scratch that. I think Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a better. Anthony Davis produces more. He's much more impactful. Now, yeah, they lost in the second round, but you can't compare their production from the first round. It was, I mean, AD was averaging like 27 or 28 points. AD averaged 28. I think he averaged 28 and 15 against the Denver Nuggets. And the Denver Nuggets is a superior team than the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree with this take. I think if Dallas had faced Denver, Denver would have eliminated them. That's how I feel, right? So I think as a second option, But the thing is AD the second option on the Lakers? I don't think so. I think he's the first option, but sometimes LeBron just get happy and takes a bunch of shots. But so if we're saying LeBron is the second option, then I mean I don't know, but I mean on paper I think PG is definitely one of the three best second options in the league. I think people are going to say Jaylen Brown. They're going to bring up on the West. I mean, it's just tough. I mean, Jamal Murray could potentially be in that conversation, but I think PG is definitely one of the best second options in the league. But the thing is, his production is not sustainable in the playoffs. So that's why I can't really argue for him because he averaged 19.5 on significantly terrible shooting, BJ. So I don't know, but on paper, yeah, or if we're talking about talent, PG is definitely one of the most talented second options in the league. But when you get to the playoffs, I mean, people don't really care about the talents. They don't really care about the potential. They care about the production. They care about the results. So I would say that PG is definitely the best second option, but the production is he's not able to sustain it in the playoffs. So that's where it gets a little tricky. That's where the gray area is. All Kawhi need is to be healthy, which is definitely true. But BJ, if Kawhi is healthy, can you trust PG to be that second option? Because we've only seen that. I'll say we've only seen that once because in 2021, Kawhi Leonard got hurt and Paul George was on a tear, right? He was on a tear in 2021. He exercised his demons. He redeemed himself back from that previous year. So I mean, I don't know, but I mean, PG is getting older. The injuries is piling up to him, right? He's going to be 35 next year. Um, and the NBA is getting younger. The NBA, I mean, teams are getting better. Players are getting better. Um, so it's just tough, man. It's tough. It's very very tough. PG never had his Batman. Um, I I mean, if you talk about his Pacers days, yeah, that was a great team, but as a good enough second option, PG never had that. Yeah, I definitely agree. When he went up against the Toronto Raptors in 2016, he had a terrible team. They were the seventh seed, and he still took them 7 games, right? And then in 20, no, that was 2016 and 2017. I think a second option was Monte Ellis or somebody like that, Jeff Teague or one of those clowns. But and he got swept. So yeah, he never had a good enough Batman. But I don't think PG is a good first option to win a championship. Now he could win you a playoff series here and there, but you can't really sustain that. Exactly, there isn't one. There isn't anyone. I mean, BJ, that's true, but I mean, if you talk about production wise, I mean, a lot of people will take other players over PG. And me personally, I'm looking at that production too, and I don't want PG at this advanced age with his um at this advanced age for a long term deal. Like I don't want to do it. Now, if it's a team friendly deal, yeah, I'm absolutely making that move. But for a long term deal, like it's just like I'll question myself before making that move. Kawhi and PG are 120, 124, 57 together. That's dominance. I mean, that's definitely true. That is dominance. But the thing is, PG gotta sustain that level of play in the playoffs as well. Um, I don't think he has. What's his record in the playoffs? So 2020, they win by 6. So for, I mean, I could do the calculation, but I don't have time. Okay, so tell me the players, Andre, because Mr. Glass ain't it. Wait, who's Mr. Anthony Davis? Bro, 27 and 14. That's production right there, BJ. Now the Lakers was not a good team. Absolutely, but if you talk about individual play or if you talk about performance, Anthony Davis performed better than Paul George. And he was guarding um the what you call it. He was guarding the best player, arguably the best player in the league. Now, yeah, Jokic destroyed him, but I mean, Anthony Davis was averaging 3-4 blocks. And Anthony Davis, as a second option, has actually won a championship with the Lakers. So now, yeah, PG Kawhi has been hurt, so we haven't really seen that. So we can't really say. But I mean, Anthony Davis, I mean, I don't know, man, because Anthony Davis is also going to provide you that if he's not hurt, he's also going to provide you that two way impact that Paul George is going to provide you. I think Anthony Davis is definitely top 5 when you talk about rim protector, and he can also guard in space on the perimeter. Now, if you put him against fast players, yeah, he'll definitely get blown by. Sometimes players shoot over him, but as a rim protector, Anthony Davis could definitely give you the same value that Paul George can give you if he's not hurt. So, I mean, it's very tricky. Now, me personally, I really like perimeter players. So, if you ask me who I want, I'll definitely say Paul George because I mean, I'm gonna be biased as well because PG is my favorite player. But at the same time, it's like, whose production would you take? Would you take PG's production or AD's production? Because AD, yeah, when they got swept, he did perform at a high level, but the team was just not good enough. And this year, they was just not good enough. But the Clippers is a much better team than the Clippers is a much better team than the Lakers. So it's just tricky. AD has never been a better player than Paul George. He wasn't nothing but a stat guy in New Orleans and had a bubble. Man, come on, BJ. Man, but I mean, AD. I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely a conversation. But I mean, if you put away that bubble run, if you put that aside, and you talk about who has done more as a second option, I mean, Anthony Davis has gotten to a conference finals just as PG has gotten to a conference finals. So, but the thing is, I mean, Anthony Davis got swept. PG didn't get swept. So, and PG was the best player. So, and even when PG was the best player, right, and Anthony Davis was the second option, their production kind of like it looks the same. Their production looks the same because PG was averaging like 28 points against the Phoenix Suns, and Anthony Davis he was also averaging 28 points against the Denver Nuggets last season in the conference finals. So, uh, I mean, BJ, I don't know, man. Better player, yeah, I'll give it to Paul George, but production wise, I'm taking Anthony Davis for production because I know AD is he's gonna produce at a high level and he's gonna be super efficient. I mean, yeah, I can't really compare the two because one is a jump shooter, one gets most of his shots at the rim. AD's a center, PG's a perimeter player. So, but what has AD done without LeBron, bro? You can't, bro. Let's man. I'm not arguing against PG. PG's my favorite player. I'm not arguing against him. So nah, bro, you're not gonna do that with me, bro. So we're not doing that. BJ, we're not doing that. I mean, Tuna Sports, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Yeah, he got swept. He got swept as a first option. They missed the playoffs multiple times when he was a first option. But I mean, as a 6 seed, he did beat Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, we can't really take that away from him. But yeah, take LeBron off the Lakers and watch what happens. I mean, AD had a winning record when LeBron was not playing this season and last season. But BJ, it's like comparing apples to oranges because the Clippers is a significantly better team than the Lakers. The Clippers have high impactful players than the Lakers do. So it's just like if you're comparing their production, yeah, Anthony Davis would definitely blow Paul George out the water. But if you want to compare like player for player, who's a better player? Yeah, me personally, I'm going for Paul George. Exactly to glassing. Man, y'all calling him Mr. Glass, but over the last 5 years, AD played more games than Paul George, though. I mean, AD hasn't really had a significant injury. But let me get to the Sixers. So, with all of that being said, if you're the Sixers GM, do you offer Paul George that contract? Now, me personally, the only way I sign him is if he's willing to take a team friendly deal, which is not going to happen because if he can take a team friendly deal with the Sixers, he could definitely take a team friendly deal with the Clippers. And since he is from the LA area, he's definitely going to take that deal from the Clippers because he's from there. He's played with that team the last 5 seasons. He knows all the players there, and it's his team and Kawhi's team. So they have that core right there. So I wouldn't really expect PG to come to Philly and take a team friendly deal. He would rather do it with the Clippers. So if the Sixers really want to sign him, then you got to give him that 4 years, 200, whatever that contract is. But if you're willing to give him that contract, that means that you believe, excuse me, if you're willing to give him that contract, that means you believe that a trio of Maxey, Embiid, and PG could definitely win you a championship. Now, do I think that could win you a championship? If they're all healthy, they definitely have a chance, right? If they're all healthy in the Eastern Conference, they definitely have a chance because they could definitely compete with anybody in the Eastern Conference, whether it's the Miami Heat. Nah, scratch that. Whether it's the Miami Heat, whether it's the Jim Crow Celtics, whether it's the Milwaukee Ducks, they could definitely the New York Knickerbockers, they could definitely compete with any team. But if they get hurt, which is one of my biggest concerns because Embiid is an injury-prone player. We're not gonna. There's no way to cover it. He's injury-prone. He misses a lot of games in the regular season, right? And Paul George has had his fair shares of injuries. Last season, he did play the most games he's ever played since the 2018-2019 season. He played 74 games, which is probably 85% of the games available. And I think he was dealing with a groin injury. But it didn't really impact him to a point where he had to miss a lot of games because he played 74. So last season he was pretty much healthy, and the threshold of games that you should play in order to qualify for season awards is 65, which Embiid could not reach because he only played 35 games in the regular season. So Embiid is injury prone. Now Paul George, that's a little tricky because PG was known as an injury-free player. I mean, not an injury-free player, but early on in his career, he was playing a lot of games. I mean, with the Pacers, he was playing a lot of games. And then he got hurt August 2014 with Team USA, where he snapped his leg in half. His tibia and fibula bones were broken, right? He broke his tibia and fibula bones. Yeah, I know that. I took anatomy and physiology. So after he broke those bones in his legs, that's when he started, going through injuries. I mean, when he came back, he was still pretty much healthy for the most part. He had seasons where he was playing 81 games, right? I think the next year he played 81 games. But the last 5 years with the Clippers, he's been a little bit you could say injury prone, right? He dealt with the UCL injury in his elbow. He dealt with a hyperextended knee issue, right? Where he was going for a rebound or something. And he collided with not Josh Giddey, but the other guy, Lou Dort. He collided with them and he hyperextended that knee, and he missed a lot of games. He potentially missed the playoffs as well. I think that was last season. Yeah, he missed that playoff run. So he's in previous years he's been hurt, but last season he played 74 games. So he was pretty much playing all the games. But the thing is, could you trust him to hold up for the next 4 years? And if you sign him, do you think that trio that trio, do you expect that trio to go win a championship? Yeah, if they're healthy, yeah, they definitely have a chance. But it's not a guarantee because anything could happen, right? Injuries could happen. Players not buying in could happen, right? Now, PG, knowing him, Paul George doesn't really have an ego, right? He's never had an ego. All the teams that he's played on, he's never had an ego where he feels like I'm the best player on the team. The offense should go through me. I have to take the most shots. PG doesn't. That's not his ego. He doesn't really have an ego, and you can see that when he first got traded to the Thunder, right? And he looked at that situation and okay, Russell Westbrook is a better player than I am, so I have to definitely, be the second best player. Even though Carmelo Anthony was on that team as well, but PG left the Indiana Pacers as the first option, came onto the Thunder, and he accepted his role as the second option. He didn't bump heads with Russell Westbrook, and he thrived in that role. That's when he was the second option. And then the next season where he was having his MVP season, that's when he started to kind of like take the first option role, and Russell Westbrook kind of like, I'm going to take a back seat. I'm going to let you run the show. I'm going to let you, get all the shots, average the most points that you can, and we'll see how that goes. So PG doesn't really have an ego. So if he comes to this Sixers team, I don't think an ego will be any kind of a problem. I don't think his ego will get in the way of him potentially winning a championship. But the only thing that I worry about is the injury thing, because if he's hurt and Embiid is hurt, then you have absolutely no chance of winning. You have no chance in winning, and that's the big problem that's going on in today's NBA, because teams are always missing their best players. I mean, Giannis and Damian Lillard go down, Donovan Mitchell goes down. I mean, the Cavs wasn't going to win anyway, so but Dame, Giannis go down, right? In the Western Conference, Kawhi Leonard goes down, so we don't even know if he's healthy whether the Clippers beat the Dallas Mavericks or not. So that's my only issue, but knowing Daryl Morey, I think Daryl Morey is definitely, if he has a chance to sign PG, he's definitely making that move. Because he likes stars, he loves star caliber players, and he wouldn't even hesitate to give PG a long term deal. We know, we know Daryl Morey. That's his mentality. That's what he does. So I could see this happening, right? I'm not gonna lie. And the thing is, Daryl Morey doesn't really care about my opinion. He doesn't really care about the opinion of Sixers fans, right? He's gonna make the move that he thinks is best for the team. And if he thinks PG gives Embiid and Maxey the best chance of competing in the Eastern Conference, he's definitely making that move. And he's definitely signing PG to a long term deal. But me personally, like I said, if I have the chance to sign him, yeah, I'll sign him. But I'm not gonna give him a long term deal. That's my mentality, and hopefully, hopefully, I don't know what happens tonight. I mean, the NBA final starts in almost half an hour from now. So if the Boston Celtics can clinch if they can clinch the championship tonight, we'll see what happens or what unfolds in the very near future. Because after the finals, teams, which is in the new CBA, after a team wins a championship, teams can now negotiate with their free agent players and talk about deals and try to offer them contracts as soon as possible. So if the Boston Celtics win, we'll see how this contract thing goes on with the Clippers, with the Sixers, and PG. They're kind of like in the triangle, right? They're kind of in the triangle, and some people feel like PG is using the Sixers as leverage, which it could be true. He could be using the Sixers for leverage, but the Clippers, I think they should definitely bring back PG, right? Because he's been with the team for as long as he has been with the team, and I don't think any other second option, like BJ said in the comment section, there's no other second option better than Paul George. So, if you really want to win, you definitely want Paul George on your team. BJ says, I see it both sides. Yeah, yeah, I kind of missed the context right there. If the Clippers give PG his money, you will see a copy of 2021. I mean, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that because I mean, in 2021, when they signed him in 2020, right? That's when he went on to have his huge postseason run, leading the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening. But man, Kawhi, if Kawhi's not healthy, then yeah, it's all going to waste because the Clippers are not going to win a championship. Exactly. Embiid and Kawhi are in the same boat when it comes to injuries. They are, but Embiid, he plays though, right? Yeah, I was just throwing shots. See, you didn't say the Cavs. You know, but Tuna Sports. If I get on the Cavs, bro, don't make me get on the Cavs because if I get on the Cavs, I'm not gonna stop. Harden is telling PG as we speak. Daryl Morey ain't Daryl Morey ain't shit. I mean, yeah, it could be true, but I mean, if Daryl Morey's offering him a long term deal, I don't think he's gonna reject it. I don't think he's gonna reject it. And why would anybody reject that? I mean, if they're willing to pay you, I'm definitely taking it. The thing is, they didn't even speak to Harden for a contract extension. So But yeah, shout out to Harden, man. Shout out to Harden. We saw that viral moment, that viral video of his girlfriend catching that, catching the flowers, and I mean Harden is a meme, bro. Daryl Morey is a liar. Um, I mean it's a business, right? No GM. I mean Danny Ainge is a liar. Kevin McHale is a liar, right? Brad Stevens is a liar. I could keep going. I mean even Lawrence Frank is a liar. Lawrence Frank is a liar. Kobe, whatever for the Cavs, he's a liar. They're all liars. It's a business. So like I said, I mean, PG, if he had performed like to his standards, like to his regular season standards, I think the Clippers definitely offer him that contract. Me personally, that's what I believe. I think if he performed to his standards, they definitely offer him the contract. Harden don't like Embiid either. Yeah, he did say that he hasn't spoken to him in a long time, but I mean, I don't know, man. He might say something different, and then in the off season, all white party, you might see them together. I mean, who knows, right? The Michael Rubin party, you might see them together taking pictures. So it's always tricky. Pat Bev said Daryl Morey ain't. Yeah. I mean, Daryl Morey has a reputation of uh effing guys over. I mean, Chris Paul, Patrick Beverly, all these other. But I mean, Pat Bev. I mean, you were on a veteran minimums contract, so would you really trust what a GM tells you? Because signing that contract in itself, you should know your job is not guaranteed. You could get traded at any time. So I don't think Patrick Beverly. I mean, Pat Bev should have. He should have been. He should have realized the situation that he was in, and that was not the first time he was getting traded mid-season. I mean, when he was with the Lakers, he got traded mid-season. That's not the first time. So he should have known better. He should have known better. These guys can't be trusted, right? These guys can't be trusted at all. These guys, when they get a chance, they're definitely making the move. So he should have been better than that. He should have known better. And I mean Patrick Beverly was playing good for the Sixers. He was playing good. You could tell he was definitely the voice in that locker room, and people really respect Patrick Beverly. They really did, and yeah, it was. I didn't really like the move, but later on, I was like, oh, I mean, Cameron Payne is giving you the same level of effectiveness that Patrick Beverly was giving you. Now he wasn't giving you the defensive impact that Patrick Beverly was giving you, but offensively, he was definitely giving you that same level of impact or yeah, impact. And Carmelo Anthony. I mean, Carmelo wasn't. Yeah, that was terrible. I can't even defend that. I mean, 10 games into the season, and then you tell the dude that his services is no longer needed. Yeah, I would feel disrespected too. So that was definitely not a good part on Daryl Morey. And you're not supposed to do players like that. Not supposed to do players like that at all. But I mean, Lawrence Frank has done the same thing. I mean, did they not trade Blake Griffin 6 months into his deal? When it was time to offer Patrick Beverly his contract, they didn't offer it. They didn't give him that contract. They traded him to the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? And then they traded SGA, Danilo Gallinari, and all those guys. They traded all of them. You traded Reggie Jackson. You traded Marcus Morris Sr. Traded Nico. Traded all those guys. So I mean, we could say the same thing for L. Frank. Yeah, we could say the same thing about L. Frank, backup dancer. Yeah, yeah. I have to get to Cameron Payne before I shut this. I shut this live down because we got to go watch the finals. But campaign talented. Yeah, but Um, hopefully everything works in the favor of the Sixers. Hopefully, if they're gonna get Paul George, I would hope that it's on a team friendly deal because you definitely want to fill out your roster with some good and complementary pieces. Because look at the NBA Finals. I mean, look at the teams that made deep postseason runs. They had some what you call it. They had some rotation players that came off the bench and was very, very productive, or even not even coming off the bench, but as starters, some of these guys were huge, huge. Some of these players contributed huge at a high level. I mean, Derek White was averaging 20 as a third option, averaging 20 in the first round against the Miami Heat. So he was producing at a high level, and I mean, people think he's a borderline, star caliber player. I mean, people think he could definitely make an all-star team, but I consider him as a role player. And as a role player, he was stepping up huge for the Boston Celtics. And look at PJ Washington. I mean, some guys make the argument that he was the best player for the Dallas Mavericks in the second round, right? Because he was playing at a high level, which I mean, I think that's ridiculous to say, but he's definitely contributing at a high level for the Dallas Mavericks, and as a result, they're in the NBA Finals. I mean, obviously, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving did their parts as the number one and number two options, but the role players, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., and all those other guys, Derek Lively, um, they're in the NBA Finals. So role players are definitely very important. And if you have some high caliber role players, you could definitely make a deep postseason run. And I hope the Sixers can be in a situation where if they're going after a third player, which if they want to go after a star caliber player, I think they should have wiggle room to add complementary pieces to the team as well. You don't want to see a Phoenix Suns situation with the Sixers. You don't want to see three super max caliber players on the team, and then you're filling out the what you call it, the rest of the roster with low caliber role players. So you don't want to see that. Kyrie was averaging 15 against the Thunder. Yeah, he was. But I mean, BJ, let's be honest, bro. How many double teams was he attracting? I think it was by design because PJ Washington was in the corner, and Luka, being as skilled as he is as a playmaker and as a passer, when he draws that double team, he kicks it out to the corner, and PJ Washington makes a shot. I think PJ Washington made the last three shots in Game 6 off of driving kicks. It wasn't like he was getting the ball, driving to the hole, demanding double teams, demanding the most defensive attention. Like, who was guarding him? I forgot who was guarding him, but he wasn't being guarded by the best player on the other team. Lou Dort was guarding Luka, and what you call it, SGA was guarding Kyrie and Luka as well. So the best defenders on the other team were not even guarding PJ Washington. So he took advantage of that, and he took advantage of the spacing, took advantage of the least attention that he was getting, and he capitalized on it. That's how I see it. Now, he did produce more than Kyrie. Yeah, I definitely give you that. But in terms of the player who made the most impact, I think Kyrie Irving was much more impactful than PJ Washington. But the production, yeah, PJ Washington definitely produced more in the second round than Kyrie did. And I think that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. That's not a bad thing. But last but not least, let me get into this Cameron Payne thing. So Cam Payne on Friday, he got arrested for giving the cops false information. I think false information or something like that. And then he was released a few hours later. But it's definitely a bad look because he's a free agent, and certain teams might use this situation to kind of like lowball him on his next contract because he got in trouble with the law. I mean, we see teams do this multiple times. We saw, I mean, I think Montrezl Harrell back in 2022, he got into some kind of trouble, and the Sixers capitalized on it, and they gave him a vet minimum. So I just think it's a bad look for Cameron Payne. Now, some Sixer fans are saying that bring him back. But I mean, me personally, if I can get an upgrade for Cameron Payne, yeah, I'll definitely take it. But we don't know what's going to happen. Me personally, I want Tyus Jones as a backup center. I mean, a backup center, but as a backup player. But yeah, backup point guard. I think Tyus Jones is. I want to say that Tyus Jones was the best backup center. Why do I keep saying backup center? Best backup point guard in the league, and he's really doing his thing with the Wizards. But I think he definitely could give you better production on a contending team. I think you can if he's on a contender, you will definitely see his impact on a contender team. But he's with a trash team, so people don't really respect or people don't really look at him as a very good or somebody who could be a very good contributor on a contending team. And I think people need to learn their lesson because Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, when they were with the Washington Wizards and Charlotte Hornets, respectively, then nobody respected them. But they get to the Dallas Mavericks, and they're producing at a high level, and they're in the NBA Finals. All great players get doubled. OKC had guards to go at Kyrie. That was the problem. That's true. I'm not gonna fight that. I mean, SGA was the best player in that series. I like Luka. I'm not gonna make any arguments for him. SGA was the best player. He was killing them in the mid range. He demolished them in the mid range. So and they had other guards. I mean, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe. Who else? Who else was on that team? That was. I mean, yeah, they and Jalen Williams. I mean, they were all going at. Excuse me. They were all going at Kyrie, and I mean they had the best of him sometimes. But I think Kyrie's most of his impact came from playmaking. I think he averaged like 8 assists in that series, and most of those dimes was going to PJ Washington. Most of those dimes was going to Daniel Gafford, and I think he used his ability to play make to impact the series. Can't they? Oh my god! Yeah, shout out to Bruce, man. I appreciate you for being here, Bruce. Yeah, yeah. What's going on, Bruce? Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Who you got? You need a center? Absolutely. I mean, Paul Reed is not. He's not the answer. Paul Reed is not Naz Reid. I mean, they're both 6'9", but look at what Naz Reid does with his team, the Timberwolves. 6 man of the year, plays good defense, gives you production offensively as well. And Paul Reed is not. When I see him put the ball on the floor, I just close my eyes because you definitely know that something bad is gonna happen. Sixers don't want Jared Allen, bro. If we, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna just keep quiet. Cam breakdancer pain, bro. Yeah, yeah, always make fun of him. Tyus Jones is underrated as a floor. Yeah, he is. He is. And some people don't really see his impact. And that's because he's on a terrible team with the Washington Wizards. So, but I think if he's with a team that has championship aspirations, he can definitely give you some solid production. Even as a bench player. Because look at what TJ McConnell did with the Indiana Pacers. And TJ McConnell was a Sixers player. One of the terrible moves the Sixers made, terrible front office moves that the Sixers made. So, Embiid for come on, Bruce, stop it. But it's definitely a terrible. It's a terrible look for Cameron Payne. He'll definitely get lowballed on this next contract. Uh, which I mean, me personally, I don't really know what his value is in the market. I don't know if a team would really want to sign him to a significant deal, but it's a terrible look for Cameron Payne, and hopefully it's not anything serious. Hopefully, he can bounce back from that, and hopefully any team, if not the Sixers or any other team, if they can give him a solid contract, yeah, I'll definitely be happy for him. So next time, don't give the cops false information, and they're not gonna make a big deal out of it. Oh, Tuna Sports said that, bro. Tuna Sports, stop it, bro. Stop it. Stop it. If you say Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Donovan, all 4 players are not enough for Embiid, bro. You gotta give us more. You can't trade them. You can't trade them. You can't just exchange those 2 players, bro. I'm on. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. But I could definitely see Cleveland giving Cameron Payne a solid deal, right? I could definitely see them giving him a solid deal, as their backup point guard because they don't have no backup point guard. I mean, they got Karis LeVert, he's a solid combo guard slash forward. I mean, he's 6'7", but I think as a guard, yeah, as a guard, Cleveland could definitely get production out of Cameron Payne. And Cleveland likes, they like the midget players. I mean, he's a midget. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell's a midget. Um, Darius Garland, damn sure is a midget. They got that midget backcourt combo. So that's what Cleveland likes. So hey, you can't hate on no team. Man. But yeah, that's all I got. The NBA final starts in a few minutes, but that's all I got. Sixers news. Will Paul George sign with the Sixers? I don't know. I would like for that to happen on a cheaper deal, but if he's gonna get almost 35% of the salary cap and not give us a chance to add some high caliber role players on the team, then I definitely don't want that. I definitely don't want that because Embiid has to get his extension, and I heard he's up to almost 198. Yeah, give it to him. Yeah, give him that extension. He deserves it. MVP, right? He's he's a high caliber player. Top five, tops. I think me personally. He's 6 on my list. I think he dropped, even though he led the playoffs in scoring. He dropped on my list. He's the 6th best player in the NBA. But yeah, give it to him. He's earned it. He deserves it. Give him that extension. Tyrese Maxey, 205. Yeah, give it to him. He played himself into that contract. He definitely deserves it. So give it to him. You give him that contract. And Paul George, I don't know. OG Ananobi, I don't know. So we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see if the finals ends tonight, which I don't really want it to end tonight. I definitely want to see Dallas win. I definitely want to see Dallas win. I don't want to see Boston win a championship again. Yeah. Tudor Sports says we don't want him. Nah, he terrible. He better than Darius Garland though. I mean, shit. Let's go Mavs. Yeah, let's go Mavs. Yeah, make history. I want to see history. I definitely want to see history. No offhand. Cameron Payne don't have no offhand. Bro, Darius Garland is washed at 23, 24 years old. Cleveland fans are saying that. Cavs fans are saying that he's washed. So I don't know, bro. Shout out to JM. Real Clippers. Bro. Listen to the sports. Please refrain from talking low level basketball minds. Please refrain from talking low level basketball minds. JM is a troll. He speaks with no facts. Right? He speaks with no facts. Bro, I promise you. Yo, he said last time Dirk Nowitzki was a shooting guard, bro. You can't take him serious. Man, he a troll, bro. He a troll. He definitely a troll. But yeah, that's all I got. And Twitter Sports, bro, hit me up on the gram. Hit me up on the gram because I don't want to drive the Jersey looking for you because we definitely got to make this happen. We got to make this happen, bro. We got to make this happen. And I don't want to wait too long because there's other topics, other things that I would want to discuss with you. So I definitely want you to hit me back and let's set it up and let's make it happen, bro. Let's just make it happen. So yeah, that's all I got. Sixers news and current updates. I think Embiid was definitely recruiting Paul George. I mean, why would he side eye him? But hopefully he don't get no fine, or hopefully the Sixers don't get any picks taken from them because that's what happened 2 seasons ago, and they lost their draft picks for 2023 with the PJ Tucker signing. I mean, they tampered with the PJ Tucker thing, and they lost their picks. So hopefully that don't happen. Hopefully everything works out right for the Clippers and they sign PG. But yeah, I could definitely see George signing with the Sixers. I mean that would be great. That would be great for the Sixers if he takes a team friendly deal. That would be great. But would you get the best PG 13? I mean, he can't. he can't be PG-13 on the Sixers because 13 is retired for Will Chamberlain. So he'll probably go back to 24. Nah, 24 is also retired. 24 is retired for Bobby Jones. So number one, maybe, or maybe he'll add 4 and 2 together and get number six. Nah, 6 is retired for Dr. J, and 1 and 3, that's 4. 4 is retired for Dolph Chase. So I don't know what jersey number you're gonna wear, bro. But hopefully everything works out right for the Sixers and the Clippers. Right, I follow both teams, and I mean, me being PG being my favorite player, I definitely want to see him in the best situation possible to give him a chance to compete for a championship, whether it's on the Sixers or the Clippers. So hopefully everything works out right for both teams on both sides, and hopefully he gets the deal that he deserves. Because I mean, me personally, I think PG deserves a max contract, but I'm not willing to give him that. I'm not willing to give him that, but maybe another team would be. And I mean, we know Daryl Morey's definitely, if he has a chance, he's making that move. So, um, I think the Sixer fans that are not in agreement to this move, I think you have to live with it, right? You have to live with it if the Clippers are not willing to give him the contract that he thinks he deserves. So we'll have to live with it. I'll have to live with it. I wouldn't like it, but I'll have to live with it. Congrats to the Celtics. Bro, how are you a Cavaliers fan and you're rooting for the team that knocked out your team? Because Cleveland and Boston, y'all used to be rivals. I mean, you beat them in 17 and 18, right? Both games went to game 7. So how are you rooting for why are you rooting for the Celtics? But yeah, I don't know. But last but not least, LeBron James was in Philly. I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday night. He was pictured with Nick Nurse, Josh Harris. It was not a clear photo, but I mean, you could clearly see Nick Nurse. You could clearly see LeBron. So that brings a question: will LeBron possibly sign with the Sixers in free agency? I just don't know. But yeah, that's another move that I don't want to see. Right? Yeah, I don't want to see that. Now, back in 2018, yeah, but now, no, I don't want to see that move. But it's a rumor right now, and there's a little bit of truth to every rumor, like I said earlier. So we don't know what's gonna happen. But I think LeBron is likely gonna sign with the Lakers, and he'll probably run it back with them. So yeah, that's all I got, man. I'm gonna end this right here. I appreciate each and every person that tuned in. Shout out to Tuna Sports. Shout out to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, BJ and Rick. Shout out to Bruce. Shout out to Humbleman 420. I didn't see him here today, but he's always he always pulls up to support. So shout out to all of y'all. Tuna Sports. I thought you had a show this morning, and never got the notification. So it's probably tomorrow. So I'm gonna definitely tune in. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to DFJ Hoops. I'm your host, Andre. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace and love.